Hey decoders, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we're going to talk about some info that I've been wanting to share for a little bit. Considering lately there's not a lot going on in the news, so no live stream. Maybe tomorrow night a live stream for you guys, but today I just wanted to put out this info and kind of share with you guys what I've been seeing. I was looking more into the moon and the moon landing and some connections to the moon landing, and this is all going to be connected with the internet, the computers, and the moon. And yeah, we're going to go through this, and please hit the like buttons, guys, if you're watching the video. And yeah, let's get started. Here we go. So in 1969, guys, the origins of the internet, basically. ARPANET was the first real network to run on packet switching technology and new technology at the time. So this is basically the precursor to the internet, right? ARPANET, okay? 1969. You guys might recognize that year as the moon landing year. But let's read through this. The first message on ARPANET was sent by UCLA undergraduate Charlie Klein, who was supervised by a guy named Kleinrock. This happened at 10:30 p.m. on October 29th, 1969. So if you read the highlighted part, the message that they sent, guys, was they were trying to type out the word login. And the first two letters of the word login sent were transmitted successfully, the L and the O. However, the third letter, G, crashed the system. As you see there, the I and the O letters were transmitted, but the system then crashed. That means that the first literal message ever sent over ARPANET, which was the precursor to the internet, was LO. LO. And eventually they ended up using the full login later, but this is significant, guys. The system crashed when it got to the letter G, okay? And we know Freemasonry has the G. The G could also stand for God or geometry. But the Freemason compass has the G in it. And I think that in this case, the G stands also for God, right? And so it crashed on the letter G, which means the only two letters that were sent on the first ever message was LO, okay? So keep that in mind as we go through here. And again, I told you that this ARPANET happened in 1969, October 29th. And that year was a big year because that was the year of the supposed moon landing. Again, not saying it happened for real, but I'm saying that this was the year they tell us it happened. So I started looking into it, and I noticed that from the moon landing to the first message sent on ARPANET was exactly 101 days, okay? And in capital letter gematria, ARPANET equals 101. So ARPANET had its first message 101 days after the moon landing, and ARPANET equals 101. Well, what's also find interesting is if you type in the moon landing, and internet, combine it, as in these two events was the moon landing and the second event was the beginning of the internet, it also equals 101. And again, there was 101 days between them. So this number is significant, guys, not just because of the gematria, but because this is a huge number when it comes to computers. But also, before we get to that, if you go on NASA's website, they actually have a folder or a web page called Moon 101. And again, the internet, ARPANET, sends its first message 101 days after the moon landing. And NASA has Moon 101. And of course, 101 is like a curriculum, right? So that's also connected to that. But I find it interesting that they happen to have Moon 101 on NASA's website. Well, in one of the capital letter ciphers, moon equals 101. Okay, so Moon 101, moon equals 101. And this kind of brings it all together because I told you there's 101 days between the moon landing and ARPANET. Well, later in 1989, you have the creation of the World Wide Web by CERN. Okay, so read the pink highlighted part I have for you guys. So this guy named Tim Berners-Lee, he at CERN basically started the World Wide Web in March 12th, 1989. Well, he originally considered calling it Mesh, but he was scared to do that because he thought people would call it the worldwide mess, which in a way it kind of is. But after careful consideration, Tim replaced the word mesh with the word web. His reason being a structure of networks resembled that of a spider web. He then named the system the World Wide Web, which is represented as a spider web spreading out through the whole world. Okay, so the word web was replaced with the word mesh. Okay, and notice that in the same cipher as moon, the word web equals 101. And if you go from the first message on ARPANET to the creation of the World Wide Web by Tim Lee, it was a 1010 weeks. Okay, and this is again important because not only does moon and web equal 101 in the same cipher, the word spider web in just standard gematria equals 101. And again, this is all about a spider web, an internet, a web of across the whole world. Okay. So interesting. Again, from the moon landing to ARPANET, 101 days. From ARPANET to the World Wide Web, 1,010 weeks, which is 101. Okay. And I'm going to show you why I don't think that's a coincidence. Okay. So look at this. So the other big part of the internet that we use today is Google. So Google got its name from the misspelling of the word Google, as seen right here, Googol. Okay. But notice the letters in the word Google. These are the same three letters that crashed the system during ARPANET. Remember, I told you the login, when he was trying to send the first message on ARPANET, the first two letters, L and O, were transmitted successfully, but the letter G crashed the system. And what are the letters in the word Google, which Google gets its name from? It's only G's, O's, and L's, which again is the first three letters in the ARPANET message. Okay, and Google, the word Google actually means a very large number written 10 to the power 100, which looks like 101. And Google in gematria equals 101. And a Google, a number, is a 1 followed by 100 zeros. 1, 100, 101. How perfect. Now, this gets even crazier when you think about how this whole thing worked. So when they sent the original ARPANET message, it was the L and the O. Those are the only two successfully transmitted letters. And the L and the O look like the numbers 1 and 0. 1, 0. So another reference to the 101. 1, 0. Okay. How perfect is that? Considering that Google equals 101, the name Google has the same three letters in the first ARPANET message, and the ARPANET message that transmitted was LO, which looks like 10, which is the numbers that I'm bringing to the forefront here. So, how crazy is that? Now, this is the reason why I believe this number is so important, and it's not so hard to put this together. Some of you all might have already been thinking this. But computer code, the basic layer of all computing systems, is binary. And most of the time, binary is only zeros and ones. Here's binary, guys. This is computer code. So let's think about this again. Google equals 101, like binary. This number represents binary code, 101. Okay. The first ARPANET message was sent 101 days after the moon landing, and ARPANET equals 101, moon equals 101, and from ARPANET to the World Wide Web was 10 weeks, which is 101, 101, like binary, okay? And again, Google is all about the ones and the O's. Their name literally means 10 to the power 100, which is all ones and zeros, okay? And this all goes back to the binary system, computer code. Now, they tell us this in the movie The Matrix, because, of course, the movie The Matrix is about being strapped into a machine, like a computer, right? Virtual reality. And his room number in the movie is 101. And how about that, guys? This guy's name is Neo, or 1. He's the 1, which equals 101. And his room number is 101. And this connects back to being inside of a computer code, binary, ones and zeros, 101. And while we're on that thought, another movie that talks about a computer and the connection to that is the movie The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. In that, the number 42 is the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. Well, the number 42 in binary is a perfect binary 101 code. Look at binary 42 is 101 1010. That's how you write the number 42 in binary. And how perfect is that, considering we're talking about the 101s? On top of that, in the movie, in the book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the supercomputer that tells us the answer to the question of everything is 42. He tells us that. And why is that, guys? Because in gematria, deep thought, the name of the computer is 42. Like ARPANET, which was the first net. Like computer, like internet, all have the 42, guys. And just don't forget, 42 in binary is 101, 1010. How perfect. Considering the first part of my decode was all about the 101, and this ties us to the 42, because the number 42 is a perfect binary number, perfectly synced up with the 101s. Okay? Now, here's where it gets interesting. Connecting it back to the moon, guys. The moon technology. Is this a moon? Is the moon some sort of tech? And I'm going to get to a movie that tells us that in a minute. But you're going to see here, if you type in the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, it equals 819. Okay? Well, the World Wide Web was created when the moon was in lunation 819. See right here? Again, they began counting the moons in 1923. So this time was during the new moon of lunation 819. And answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything equals 819. Okay? Also, that same phrase equals 720, and that just happens to be the day of the moon landing. Okay, so these are just some interesting coincidences I'm showing you here. I don't know if this is anything, but definitely looks interesting. I mean, what's the chances that this thing equals 720, which is the day of the moon landing? Seems to be pointing back to the moon. There's got to be a reason that the moon landing supposedly happened 101 days before the first message on ARPANET. Now, this is where all this comes back to, because I began thinking about this movie that came out in 2022 called Moonfall. And in this movie, a conspiracy theorist named K.C. Houseman believes the moon is artificial megastructure. Okay? Basically, he thinks it's an artificial intelligence structure. Okay? And during this whole movie, at the end, he even gets hacked into the moon. The moon hacks into his consciousness. Okay? So there's this whole theme in this movie. hinting that the moon is some sort of like distant tech in the sky, like Jason from Archaic says, the sky is just a tech, right? But I mean, at the same time, there's got to be a reason why they're putting this in a movie, guys. The whole movie's about the moon being a piece of technology, essentially. And with that in mind, that's my last slide. But I do want to go back a minute, guys, and leave my thing and show you guys something. Regarding the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, again, this whole book is revolving around a supercomputer and the number 42. And I told you in Gematria, the 42 is the number of computer, internet, ARPANET, deep thought, which is the name of the computer in the movie. Well, this actually, if you go into the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the 42, you can read about it here, but the next thing they talk about is that this was inspired by Lewis and Carroll's Adventures in Wonderland. Lewis Carroll, who was a mathematician, made repeated use of this number 42 in this in his work. Okay, for instance, Alice Adventures in Wonderland has 42 illustrations. Alice attempts at multiplication. Yeah, you guys can read all that. It's a lot to explain, but there's a whole bunch of 42 connections. Okay, to Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. But the one that caught my attention was this last one here. The White Queen announces her age as 101. So let me just show you that. So the Queen in the movie announces her age as 101, 5 months and 1 day. So if you do that measurement, as it's explaining here, without the leap day, you'll come to 37,044 days. So here we go. Again, the Queen said she was 101, 5 months and 1 day, which adds up to be 37,044 days. Well, if you take the chessboard, and if you add the Red Queen, who's supposedly supposed to be the same age, to the chess piece, then if you combine their ages, both of them being 37,044 days old, you get 74,888 days old, which is the sum of 42 times 42 times 42. So again, from this 101 back to the 42. Because again, guys, this number is 42 times 42 times 42. And this makes sense that the White Queen is saying this because in alchemy, the moon would be considered kind of the White Queen. The Red King, the Solar King, and the White Queen, the Lunar. Okay? So it makes sense that this is connected once again to the moon. And this is talking about Alice in Wonderland. And of course, Alice in Wonderland has a huge connection to rabbits, and we know the rabbit is also connected to the moon. But there's so much more to say here, but I don't want to make this too long. But another thing to bring up here is the 101 names of God in Zoroastrianism. And supposedly there's 101 names of God, worthy of worship, all-powerful, all-knowing, Lord of all, without beginning, without end, root of creation, endless bliss, primal cause, exalted one, purest of the pure, detached from all, in touch with all, unattainable, attainer of all, most righteous, upholder of all, beyond reason. I mean, you guys can go through the whole list, but there's 101 names. And what I found interesting, that if you type out, let me just type this out for you guys. Hold on a second. Whoops. If you type out 101 names of God it equals 101. 101 names of God equals 101. And again, in gematria, this makes sense because in just simple basic English gematria, the word God equals 26, right? And what is the 26th? What is 101? Well, 101 is the 26th prime. You guys see how perfect that is? 101, the 26th prime, and 101 names of God equals 101, which again is the 26th prime, and God equals 26. And 10, which is another 10. But again, this goes so much deeper, guys. I don't know what else to really say here, but hopefully you guys got all this. Thank you guys again for watching. Please hit the like buttons and let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.